sports. It's in the game.
Officially, this is known now as the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Unofficially, to a classic fan like myself, we're still calling it the San Marino Grand Prix. So one and all, welcome one and all to the second round of the 2021 Formula 1 season. The European season has begun in earnest this time around an absolute classic. Two of the current layout today would know this track from previous experience, Fernando Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen, prior to 2020 of course. But the one big change from last year when it was reintroduced was the removal of the last chicane. So that's probably going to throw off Alonso in particular, considering he's making a comeback. Kimi Raikkonen would already know that from last year of course. So, in qualifying, Mercedes front row lacquer as to be expected, but it was Valtteri Bottas that took pole position. Lewis Hamilton of course leading the Drivers' Championship early on, it's only round 2 of course, but that man, Aiden Jackson, raised some eyebrows all round the paddock with his great driving in Bahrain, in which the HAAS cars really got a deserved victory for themselves. But it's probably going to be much tougher today. They've had a much tougher weekend so far. So let's take a look at the starting grid then for the San Marino Grand Prix of 2021. It's Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton locking out the front row for Mercedes, with Hamilton once again missing out by less than a tenth. Followed by the status quo of the Red Bulls in 3rd and 4th, with Verstappen leading Perez, and Carlos Sainz is joined on row 3 by Lando Norris back at the front of the grid after a PU problem forced him down to 60-minute qualifying. Charles Leclerc is with Daniel Ricciardo, while Pierre Gasly and Sebastian Vettel complete the top 10. Fernando Alonso returns to this track and he lines up alongside Lance Stroll on row 6. Yuki Tsunoda and Esteban Ocon are behind them on row 7. It's Kimi Raikkonen and George Russell in P15 and 16, with Russell just missing out on Q2. Giovinazzi outqualifies Nicholas Latifi. The HAAS boys are at the back again today. They've struggled all weekend so far, but there was less than a tenth in it between Jackson and Mick Schumacher, and Jackson beat Schumacher on the grid once again. So yes, as we said, the rookie really raising eyebrows in Bahrain with his great driving, especially in wheel-to-wheel situations. But unfortunately, HAAS have had it really tough during this weekend. It's pretty much been back down to earth for them, being at the back of the grid for this one. And as you can see, with this onboard lap of Jackson while we're on the formation tab, and you would have noticed this last year of course, the track curves have been redesigned, and it's in an effort to stop drivers kind of trying to pull a fast one and cut the corners. So we kind of have a clear interpretation of what the track limits are. But even still, a lot of drivers, including Aiden Jackson, have been really struggling with the track limits this weekend. And Jackson has been really struggling with the car, to be fair, as well. He's had it a bit rough this weekend, the rookie. But HAAS have been probably trying to give him some encouragement, saying there will be weekends when HAAS don't reach the lofty heights. And of course, both drivers have been briefed on the scenario that it is a placeholder year for them. They will be at the back more often than not. But Bahrain really just made them punch above their weight, and it was great to see, especially from two rookies that fought up against two world champions with 3 between them. 2 with Alonso and 1 with Raikkonen, of course. But it has been a bit of a tough one this weekend for them. Meanwhile, at the front, Lewis Hamilton, well, what are Mercedes going to do? They lock out the front row. They are a very fair and even team per se. You know, they do let their drivers race. It is very early in the season, so I would probably expect them to do the same here as we line up on the grid. It's a very short lap here. The fastest lap in qualifying was, I believe, a 1:17. And it is one of the very few tracks that is anti-clockwise during the season. Most of the tracks being clockwise, of course. I forget what the other ones are right now, but I guess we can figure that out later. So here go the 5 red lights ahead of the drivers for round 2 of 2021 Formula 1 season. It is lights out and away we go for the 2021 San Marino Grand Prix. And Valtteri Bottas has got a great start, it seems. Max Verstappen is almost alongside Hamilton. And looks like the Mercedes are going to break clear at the front. They do. Does Hamilton challenge Bottas into the chicane? No. So the Red Bulls are side by side with Perez leading Verstappen. And this was very similar to what happened in Bahrain. But this time, Max Verstappen has gone in front of Perez. And I think it is pretty much as you were. Lando Norris. Yeah, it's pretty much as you were. I think the big loser is Charles Leclerc down there in P8. Meanwhile, at the back, it's Mick Schumacher going down the inside of Nicholas Latifi already. That's a very interesting start there from Mick Schumacher. Of course, as you said last time out, Schumacher made a name for himself in F2 with his starts, and it looks like he's doing the same here. Meanwhile, his teammate Aiden Jackson is stuck behind him, so Schumacher's already made up 2 places in the first few corners because he was behind Jackson on the grid. And back at the front, and it looks like Valtteri Bottas has checked out. He's already almost a second ahead of Hamilton, and we haven't even reached the end of the first lap yet. There's Perez in P4 looking to hold station behind Verstappen, no doubt. Lando Norris, Daniel Ricciardo, Charles Leclerc, Pierre Gasly and Sebastian Vettel are your top 10. So no real movers at the front. It pretty much looks like everyone is lined up in their grid position. The big winner at the start then, I believe, was Mick Schumacher. Making up 2 places at the start. And there's Aiden Jackson going round the outside of the TV at the end of the first lap. Has he got him? Yes. Aiden Jackson with another tremendous move, but they are going to go side by side into the first chicane, and Jackson is going to take it. And more great wheel-to-wheel racing by Aiden Jackson. The rookie is really making a name for himself with his passes. Well, let's have a look at the replay at the start then. Here's Bottas, and he was literally just eased into it to start the race. No challenge from Hamilton, which surprised me. Maybe Hamilton just wanted to get through the first lap, because it can be carnage down there at Tamburello Curve. And here we are with Perez, and he was the big winner off the start in Bahrain. Not so much here. And again, the Red Bulls are on the soft tyres again. So again, they're trying to maybe play a different to Mercedes, although I think everyone in the top 10 starts on the soft tyres. Perez going out on the curb there on the inside, and that's how he lost out to Verstappen in the end. And here is the start from Mick Schumacher. He flies past Jackson. Another great start by Jackson there, and he's already side by side with the TV. He's going to get boxed in there by George Russell and lose out. And could have, I think it was 3 wide going to the chicane. Was there contact there between the Alfa Romeos of Raikkonen and Giovinazzi? Maybe. I'm not really sure, but it would look very tight going into that that scenario there. I think everyone's got through unscathed. Schumacher then down the inside of Toza, and he takes it. And that was where his famous, his father Michael and Juan Pablo Montoya battled in the early 2000s. It was pretty close, and I think Montoya, most would argue, was run off the track by Schumacher. And of course, Montoya jokingly saying, "Oh, we didn't see me." It is Michael Schumacher, to be fair. You're not really going to be given much room with him. And Mick obviously taking some lessons from his famous father to take down the inside of the TV, and he made his way up to P18. We are back at the front as we have crossed the second racing lap, and now DRS will be enabled next time they come around. Only one DRS zone on the track, as you saw in the track guide, and then it's down and straight here. And we are now at the back with Nicholas Latifi. Is he going to have a look at the rookie Aiden Jackson going into the chicane? The answer is no. He's going to be too far back, so Jackson then holding position. And Mick Schumacher is throwing out a bit of a gap to him. It's about a second now. And Schumacher, to a degree, is absolutely flying compared to his teammate. As we said, the HAAS boys have had a tough weekend, to be fair. Jackson having it more so, to be honest. But he's holding off the TV nicely. And that's a great camera view there on board with Verstappen as we look ahead to Lewis Hamilton, the championship leader. And he's pretty much having it all his own way at the moment, except for Bottas leading, of course. But as we said, Mercedes will no doubt let their drivers race. Bottas has already got to a second lead over Hamilton already. So Bottas is approaching checkout on lap 3. Max looks very close to Lewis here. Let's see if they get some DRS down the straight. If Max can keep it in these final corners, he might have a chance going down into turn 1. He's pretty close. The DRS is open. Lewis is not going to have it because he's a second behind Bottas. And where's Verstappen? Where is the camera, Mr. Director? Please video cinema around the outside. And Lewis Hamilton goes to Verstappen. And he's got him. Great move by Verstappen. Cleans you out round the outside. Meanwhile, with the back, we've got Nicholas Latifi here. And he's going to have DRS on Jackson. These aren't great camera angles. We do apologise. We're only given what we've been given for the director around the outside. And Latifi thinks better of it. And backs out because Jackson is a pretty good racer when it comes to battling with others, as we knew in Bahrain. And well, this looked like a very easy move from Verstappen, to be fair. And Lewis commits really early to the inside, and it just gave Max Verstappen so much space to get round him. That was rather a lot easier than probably would have been expected from Lewis Hamilton, committing very early to the inside. I wonder if he had a problem there, because you wouldn't expect that. The TV came up fast and then just ran out of space on Jackson, and that's the reason why he didn't get past him. So, yes, Max Verstappen moving up to second. Can he chase off the Bottas now and close the second gap? Once again, the Ferraris doing very well. Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo split them, of course. So I think the big loser was Charles Leclerc down there in P8. We don't know that all the movers aside from that. Lando Norris back at the front of the grid. After having some problems in Bahrain with his engine penalty, but he took a 10-place grid penalty for. And was that Perez closing on Hamilton there? I think it was, you know. I think Perez is very close to Hamilton. Maybe Hamilton's having a problem because Perez looked very close there. Was he going to make a move? The director seems more focused on this battle here between Norris and Sainz, the former bromance at McLaren. And Norris is now around the outside. And was there contact there? There probably was, you know. And I wouldn't be surprised if Norris has to come in for a front wing, because that looked very, very close between the two friends, Norris and Sainz, as we go side by side with the TV and Jackson. And I think there was definitely contact there as well, as Jackson got his elbows out. Hopefully we'll get a replay soon. Here we go. So who's this Sainz and Norris then? Norris again taking to the outside. This is going to be probably a lot of moves like that today. We've already seen it in the first few laps. And there, I think there was no contact there. I think they just avoided each other. That would have probably gone down well with both of them at the end of the race. Let's see this from Latifi and Jackson, and there's definitely contact there. There's 2 bouts of contact, I think, as Jackson decides to get his elbows out. I don't think there's going to be anything for the FIA on that. We'll keep you posted whether Jackson really forced Latifi off the track. But the kid loves to get his elbows out. Let's credit him with that at least. And as we said, Bottas has checked out. There is nothing Max Verstappen can do. And to be fair, I think Lewis Hamilton is pretty much closing in on him there as well. So it might, if Lewis has DRS down this straight, he might get Verstappen the same way Verstappen got him on the previous lap or so. And the director's not picking it up. And he has passed him. Lewis Hamilton has passed him, unbeknownst to us, as we're still watching Sainz and Norris side by side into the Tamburello chicane. Sainz actually loses out. Oh, was there a hit there? I think Norris got hit. And we're running very close in the first chicane here. Let's see. So Norris takes the inside. Sainz swipes across in there. You could argue that, I suppose. Forces Norris to the outside. There is a hit there, and there's a hit there. And if Norris didn't have front wing damage from the last one, he might have it on that one. We'll have to wait and see. And this was the move from Latifi on Jackson. I think he's finally cleared Jackson now. Around the outside, Jackson looks completely left behind and then pops up. There was no contact there. Jackson getting his elbows out again. And that was as clean as anything. So Jackson once again proving his side-by-side credentials. If this kid can get a further up the grid, we can see this kid passing a lot of drivers in his future, because as a side-by-side racer, Aiden Jackson is really showing signs, and many people compare him to Max Verstappen already in the way he's battling with others and being not uncompromising. But let's be fair, Jackson's kept it very clean, as would Max. Sometimes people could argue Max doesn't, but there is comparisons already then from Aiden Jackson and Max Verstappen. I mean, that's probably going to be some very good company you're involved in, as it is Max Verstappen, of course. And Norris does have to go into the pits, so there was contact between Norris and Sainz, and Norris has to go into the pits. We're going to see the almost exact here between Ricciardo and Leclerc down the inside. Was there? I think there was a hit there as well, and maybe Daniel Ricciardo will now lose his front wing. It looks like we're going to lose a lot of front wings in this race, considering it looks like we must have 2 damaged front wings already. It's only going to be end plate damage. But McLaren feel it could be worse on Norris, and he's dropped to the back of the field now behind Jackson and Latifi. Jackson is still ahead of Latifi in the Williams. That's a personal win for Haas all day long. And Jackson run a bit wide there in the second chicane. I think it was the Villeneuve chicane they call it. And Jackson is able to stay ahead at Toza. And Lando Norris now, once again, has it all to do from the back of the field. He did really well in Bahrain to do that. Let's see if we can pull it out for this one. And on board with Daniel Ricciardo. And Charles Leclerc has got ahead of him now. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ricciardo has front wing end plate damage. And is probably going to be pulling to the pits at the end of his lap. There's going to be a lot of repair bills by the end of this race. Considering, well, for McLaren anyway, they've had both their drivers possibly lose their front wing. Max Verstappen goes down the outsole. And Lewis shuts the door. Lewis shuts the door in his face. And says no. And Ricciardo does come in for a stop, and that is for a front wing. So race ruined for McLaren battling Ferraris, and that's going to be crucial because the Ferraris and McLarens are probably going to be locked in a battle this season for third in the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari have made improvements to their 2021 engine compared to the previous year, where the Ferrari was very much disastrous, if not really lack of a better word. And Aiden Jackson and Mick Schumacher in the HAAS cars are running the latest Ferrari engine in 2021. It's not really helping them today, unfortunately, because they've been pretty much towards the back all race long. Sadly for Jackson's case, because in an interview when he was called in for the press conference in the pre-weekend, in the pre-build-up, Jackson said he really enjoyed himself. Being out there, being able to race with 2 former champions and keeping them behind. So plenty of wheel-to-wheel experience for the rookie, and he's using it to good effect here because he's keeping Latifi behind him. Now, freeway train here being filled by Lewis Hamilton. Him, Verstappen and Perez, and the Red Bulls are going to have DRS as Max goes around the outside of Lewis again, retakes second position, and another pass there by Max Verstappen, but I don't think anyone is catching Bottas today. He is pretty much checked out to a 5-second lead. Is that 5 seconds or 3 seconds? Can't really tell on the screen. It's a bit pixelated from my previous screen on my video editing software TV we got here. But further back to the grid, and Latifi now is going to take to the other side of Jackson this time, and Jackson's got nothing to defend, and Latifi takes P15. But is he really catch Schumacher at this point? Because Schumacher has pretty much left those two behind, and of course Jackson is ahead of the McLarens by the fact that the McLarens have to pit, and we're already on lap 9 of this crazy race, and we have plenty of action at the front here. Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen locking horns for a few laps now. Can Perez get himself in a position to pass Lewis Hamilton down this straight? Probably not, because I think Lewis is going to get DRS, so that's probably going to count Perez out for this one, or counter him maybe. And I think it's pretty much going to be status quo. Did Lewis take to his side there? No, he didn't. Oh, he's going to go down the other side and inside of Temporera. What a move by Lewis Hamilton, and he's got him, I think. Oh, it's side by side, and Lewis has got him. So Lewis got ahead, and now Max will be compromised. Really, well, Perez take advantage of that. So I didn't expect Lewis Hamilton. That was some far way back from Lewis Hamilton. What a great move. And he kept it on the track. Wonderful move by Lewis Hamilton. No, you'd probably expect nothing less from a 7-time world champion. Meanwhile, in the pits, we have an Alfa Romeo, Kimi Raikkonen. He's lost his front wing as well. He's getting a front wing change. And that's 3 front wings now that we've had broken in this race. Bizarre. No one seems to know where their front wing is early on. And here's a replay. It's the Alfa Romeos. It's both of them. And these two have had contact before. And they're going to have contact again. 2 hits. That's going to be a broken front wing end plate for Kimi Raikkonen. And he's going to have to pit. So more broken front wing shards for Alfa Romeo there. They're going to have to pay that one off. And yeah, very close racing, but no one seems to be aware of where their front wing is and keep it on the car. But those at the front seem to be doing a very good job of it. In particular, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, who have come to battle on the track for the last few laps now. And because Lewis hasn't got Valtteri Bottas to give him DRS, we're probably expecting a very similar move from Max Verstappen down the inside. Max thinks better of it this time, but he's going to be under pressure from Sergio Perez as well. And Perez had a really good outing in Bahrain, and exactly what Red Bull would have wanted. But of course, the Red Bulls really ran the wrong strategy, my apologies, and lost out in the pits. We're probably approaching the first pit stops now, particularly for the soft tyre runners. The soft tyres can last a longer here, but in Bahrain, it's quite a short lap. I think we're expecting the first stops to be around lap 12 or 13, maybe even some for obviously tyre change reasons. For the McLarens and Kimi Raikkonen, you've already stopped for front wing changes. Here we are for a battle for 7th. Pierre Gasly, Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso and Yuki Tsunoda are all involved here, and it's fair to say that Pierre Gasly is just once again showing his talent at the moment, because ever since he went back to AlphaTauri, well, he won the race in Monza last year, didn't he? I think it was I was not really surprised by Gasly staying with AlphaTauri. I think Perez, like we said, was the most obvious choice for Red Bull. Now they have 2 race winners on board. Speaking of which, Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen are in the pits. It's going to be a battle with the pit crews, and Lewis is going to beat Max out of the pits. They both go on the hard tyres. Will they make it to the end of the race on those? I would think so, because they're obviously coming from the soft tyres, so I'm assuming that they will make it to the end of the race on that set of hard tyres. We have Charles Leclerc. Did he come into the pits? I'm not sure, but there was a few pits behind him. Mick Schumacher there coming out in P10. He's going to get to look at the Red Bull of Max Verstappen in front of him. He's probably not really going to be able to do much about aside from that, but Mick Schumacher is going to get his first sighting of the season of a Red Bull car, and something that I don't think he'll be driving in his future, with Red Bull's talent pool pretty much stacked themselves. Obviously, Mick Schumacher part of the Ferrari Driver Academy, although there has been possible rumours, and they are very slight ones, that Mercedes are also keeping their eye on him for maybe life after Lewis Hamilton. Really interesting. We'll keep you posted on that one. So that is a rumour, of course. It's not official, because I don't think Mercedes will announce anything like that. But I think Mick has been courted by Mercedes probably since the beginning. Obviously, the Schumacher family have very much close ties with Mercedes. Michael Schumacher, of course, started in Mercedes sports car racing before entering Formula 1 in 1991, replacing Bernard Gachot at the Belgian Grand Prix. And as they say, the rest is history, as Valtteri Bottas comes out in the lead comfortably. He beat Perez there, who was just coming into the pits. And now Mick Schumacher is going to be making his first stop of the afternoon. Aiden Jackson has already made his first stop to switch to a set of hard tyres, I believe. And there's the Williams of Latifi. Schumacher should beat him. It's a solid stop from the HAAS boys, and he's 08, and I think he did. He beat Latifi rather comfortably, to be honest. There he is pulling out just now. So Mick Schumacher stays in P17 ahead of Latifi. Kimi Raikkonen is making his way through the field after a front wing change, and Aiden Jackson, who is now at the very back, and we'll have the rest of the race to try and see if we can find some pace in that HAAS, because they've had a very difficult weekend, as we said at the top of the show. And now Schumacher goes on his way. He's about a second clear of Latifi, I believe, according to my screen, and that should be rather that for a HAAS, like we said in Bahrain, they'll take it. Well, Max Verstappen, Valtteri Bottas rather, has a 2-second lead over Lewis Hamilton, who's got both Red Bulls all over the rear wing of him again. And Lewis can't really shake these Red Bulls in this race. It's unlike Bahrain, where he led the race and checked out. He's having a bit more of a tougher time with the Red Bulls in this one. Is Verstappen going to have DRS on this lap? No, but Perez is. And this could be very interesting. Perez to the outside of Max Verstappen, and Red Bull hinge their breath, and Perez makes it stick. And well, that was DRS, to be fair. but that will cause a few panic moments at Red Bull. They certainly don't want their drivers racing each other if they can help it, but Perez isn't here to be Max Verstappen's rear gunner. He wants to stake a claim maybe to be on equal terms with Verstappen. And let's be honest, Sergio Perez has really earned the accolades in the opening race to be at least equal to Max Verstappen, and now he wants to prove it by being ahead of Verstappen in this one. Lando Norris here, who's on the soft tyres after probably switching to the soft tyres in that pit stop. He's made his way back up to 6th now. So McLaren's now running 6th and 8th, which is pretty much where they started, despite having to change front wings. That's impressive with McLaren. They'll obviously have to pit because those soft tyres aren't going to make it to the end. So they'll have to probably pit again and probably put a set of mediums on to the end of the race. That'll definitely make it as we approach lap 14. The pit stops are completed now, and Max is pretty much losing out to Perez here. Perez is pulling out a gap. But of course, will Max have DRS? I think he does. Can't really tell from that angle. I think he did, but I don't think he's going to be close enough to challenge Perez in that instance. The Mercedes now have broken clear of the two Red Bulls behind them. There was going to be a small threat of rain towards the end of the race, but looking at that, it's clear blue skies with a few light clouds. I don't think there's going to be enough to cause rain there. Some people, I think, at HAAS were kind of hoping for rain, and I think Jackson would really be welcome that right now because he's really much at the back running on his own. But HAAS really, I think their objective for the season is just to finish as many races as they possibly can. They've got good reliability, HAAS. They've got a good reliability package. It's the rest of it that's going to hold them back for the majority of this season, to the point where they might not even score any points at all. But 2022 is hopefully when they should really come into their own again, and let's hope that that's the case. As we watch race leader of the San Marino Grand Prix, Valtteri Bottas, really just having one of those races where he looks unbeatable. Some would say that he doesn't have them often enough, but when he does, he looks good on him. And he needs a season like that. He needs a season very much like this, because he's under pressure from Mercedes this year, because there's almost every expectation that George Russell will be a Mercedes driver in 2022, and that was made even more probably to be the case after the Sakir race, in which George Russell utterly dominated until a problem in the pit stops forced him to then change tyres. Then he was kind of climbing his way back through the field and then had to pit again due to a puncture. So it was all tyre issues for George Russell on that day, and he was very unfairly had that win very unfairly stripped from him in a way, because he truly deserved it after such a drive for a first time driver, for a substitute in a Mercedes. That really wasn't a bad look for Russell, and his stock has been rising tenfold for the last couple of years now to that. So Bottas needs a season like he means to go on from here, because if he takes this one, obviously he might lead the championship by 1 point. It might draw even, actually. Yes, it would be even. Of course, Bottas could get the fastest lap and get that extra point. That would put him 1 point ahead then at that point. Meanwhile, I think the Red Bulls are back into battle here. Max Verstappen with DRS too far back, unfortunately for Max. It looks like these two are going to battle all afternoon, which will make Christian Horner and Helmut Marko and such very nervous. And I think there's going to be a few feet jigs from Christian Horner rolling back the years with his time with Sebastian Vettel in the famous foot jig. There's probably going to be seeing that returning before too long as Lando Norris comes out of the pits. He was probably going to switch tyres because he was on the soft tyres after coming in at first for his front wing change. And here we are with a bit of interesting battle here brewing still for 8th place. Pierre Gasly still leading this train of Vettel, Fernando Alonso and Yuki Tsunoda. And look at that at the front. Mercedes absolutely just... They're not walking it, let's be fair here. They're not absolutely walking this one. But they are certainly having it their own way at the front. Perez and Max can't really do much about it at the moment. And I think the Red Bulls are pretty much going to be more focused on battling each other. Especially in Max's case, they want to get back ahead of Perez. And of course this will be destroying Max's tyres as well, and he's on the hard tyres, but I think everyone's probably going to go to the end of the race on this one. Max is going to have DRS. Is he closing up this time? He might be. It might be a bit of a late lunge, but let's see. And no! Perez will still hold on to P3 then for Red Bull. And followed by Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc ahead of both McLarens as Ricciardo is plummeting down the order as he's most likely come in for a pit stop to change those soft tyres that he was on. So, but they've done really well, Norris and Ricciardo, to be back up amongst the top 10. And last of the top 10, Esteban Ocon getting the 1 point for Alpine. Fernando Alonso's doing really well. He's in the middle of a scrap with Gasly, Vettel and Tsunoda, with Gasly leading that train along. As we move, I think we're on lap 18 at the moment. And the Red Bull, the Mercedes are pretty much coasting at the front. They're not coasting, but they've got it in control. And poor Aiden Jackson, he's not had the greatest of weekends. He will take the positive of having being ahead of Schumacher in qualifying, but here his car really just hasn't looked to have the pace at the moment. But as we said earlier, HAAS getting to the end of races is the most important thing. It doesn't matter where they finish as long as they do, and it'll always help later down the line for them. He's about 9 seconds behind Latifi and a further second behind Schumacher, so he's running a lonely one, Aiden Jackson. And like we said, they might expect most of it for most of the season, but Jackson is proving his. We were contentious as Vettel there, going from side to side to try and get past Big Gasly down the inside of the first chicane. There was contact there. I think Gasly was a little frustrated, raising his hand. Still side by side, the 4-time world champion Sebastian Vettel battling with an AlphaTauri here, and he finally gets out in front of it. Great move by Sebastian Vettel. He's still got it, isn't he? And he's a man who's probably hoping to get his mojo back for the 2021 season after switching from Ferrari. But unfortunately for him today, both Ferraris are ahead of him at the moment, as Fernando Alonso now is going to be passing Pierre Gasly round the outside. And did Alonso take off the track there, do you reckon? But I think he was ahead of Gasly already on that one. And now Yuki Tsunoda is all over the back of his teammate now. Gasly is appearing to slow down, as Gasly got a problem with his car, because that's 2 places lost. And Pierre Gasly was doing great before Vettel came up alongside him. And he's going to let Yuki Tsunoda pass. I think Gasly has a problem, because I think he's letting Tsunoda through at the moment around the outside of your teammate. Bold move there by Tsunoda. And Gasly may have problems because he is coming into the pits. The AlphaTauri crew are out. Is it to retire, or does he have front wing damage from the collision with Vettel? I guess we're going to find out round about now. Is he going to pull into the box? And it is a front wing change. It is a front wing change for Pierre Gasly. That's 4 front wings now that we've lost in this race. The wheel-to-wheel battles may have to lay off a little bit, because there's a lot of front wing end plates being damaged in this one. Pierre Gasly is the latest casualty. And for people like Bottas and Hamilton, and even Jackson to a degree, they'll be happy that they don't have any such problems. Because everyone around them is losing front wings and having to get them replaced. I'm not sure why. It really just looks more like end plate damage. But I think Gasly was probably a little bit more serious due to that he was due to the fact he lost out to Alonso and his teammate Tsunoda. As we are back between to the battle between the Red Bulls. Has Max Verstappen got enough speed with DRS? No. And Max Verstappen once again spending another lap behind Sergio Perez. Perez seems to be really good after the first couple of chicanes, and that's what keeps him ahead. Because obviously Max, well, probably in the later part of the lap, Perez is really good. Because even though Max has DRS, he can't be close enough to pass him into the Camberwell corner. And you can see why there is only one DRS zone on this track. There's not a lot of very long straight for DRS to be effective. As Pierre Gasly is now making inroads on the HAAS rookie Aiden Jackson, who's having a tough one, to be fair. And let's see how long Jackson can hold Gasly off. He did very well against Latifi for quite a few laps. AlphaTauri going to go down the inside as they head into the first chicane, and it's easy. And Jackson has nothing to fight with in that HAAS, and it is proving to be a bit of a difficult afternoon for the man that raised so many eyebrows with his great wheel-to-wheel racing in Bahrain. But unfortunately today he doesn't really have a lot of opportunity to demonstrate those skills. But he did run against Latifi, didn't he? But unfortunately, eventually rather, he lost out. Back to the front and back to the Red Bulls again. And here we are, Max Verstappen here, getting ahead of Perez. So Perez passed Verstappen unbeknownst to us. No, he didn't. Perez has been leading him for a few laps now. There you go, around the outside of Sergio Perez, clean as you like, from the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. So he's now back ahead of Perez, and somewhat order is restored between the Red Bull duo. And here we are with Kimi Raikkonen still making some inroads after pitting for his front wing change earlier on. Lap 23. And back between the Red Bulls again. These two are stuck together like glue at the moment. Let's hope we don't get a collision between them. And one of them loses their front wing. They're keeping it clean amongst themselves. And so did Lewis and Max earlier in the race. Although Lewis has now got really stabilised the gap between himself and the Red Bulls behind him, but he's not making any inroads on Bottas. And I think, like we said earlier, if the championship stays as it is, I think these two would be tied on points unless Bottas can get the fastest lap. I do believe that belongs to Valtteri Bottas at the moment. As around the outside of Perez goes, round the outside of Verstappen goes Perez. There was a hit there. There was two hits there again. The tightness of that chicane forces more contact, and will Perez or Verstappen have damage from that? Well, let's see on board. We went a bit far backward, not backwards enough on the replay, but we'll keep it as it is. And slight, I think that was more tyre. I think we'll be fine. I think Perez will be fine in that one, as he's demonstrated. And whoa, that's right. Oh my word! Raikkonen going very wide, trying to pass Jackson, and he's lost his front wing completely. And wow, that looked a bit far out for Kimi Raikkonen. I think he looked a bit audacious there. I think we're gonna have a replay in a second. Here it is. And well, and he really just, yeah, I think full blame falls to Kimi Raikkonen on that one. Came in way too hot, and Aiden Jackson really, I don't think he even knew what was happening. He seems to be alright. He had bodywork damage from Russell with something like that earlier. As Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel lock horns for the first time in a couple of years. And Vettel seemed to win that battle. Yeah, that'll be a front wing replaced there for Kimi Raikkonen. He's lost his entire front wing on that one. But I think full blame goes to him, to be fair. As Perez now goes round the outside of Verstappen. Again, these two are fighting tooth and claw for position. And is there any... I think it's almost exactly a carbon copy of what we just had. And Verstappen, once again, getting the elbows out and defending against his teammate. And he's quite entitled to do that. And unlike many others, they are still running in this race. And it looks like Vettel and Alonso, who came to minor blows, have survived the skirmish of losing the front wing end fence and continue on. Lando Norris has passed Esteban Ocon. Lando Norris is on a stormy race at the moment because he's having to make his way through the field twice. Yuki Tsunoda is on for 2 points ahead of Lance Stroll. They're leading Norris, so Norris is absolutely on charge at the moment. Lando Norris really charging through the field. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez are really kind of ruining their own race here. They're very much focused battling each other and losing out to the runaway Mercedes at the front. And well, yeah, as we were saying earlier, Kimi Raikkonen came in far too hot. Jackson seems to be alright. I don't think he's pitted for any damage or has any damage, so Jackson looks to have survived that one. The Red Bull side by side again, going to the first chicane. These two can't leave each other alone, but at least they're keeping it somewhat clean. And Max Verstappen holds position again. Oh Max Verstappen really, maybe Perez is faster. I'm not sure. Red Bull issuing no team orders at the moment, but I'm starting to wonder if Perez is faster than Verstappen at the moment, because obviously Perez was ahead of Verstappen earlier on. And here's Yuki Tsunoda and Lance Stroll looking to the outside. There's Norris coming down the inside. There's going to be contact there. There is. And there's more contact, and Tsunoda has spun the car. Lando Norris coming from nowhere, absolutely nowhere, and passing two cars. But I wonder if the FIA will have something to say about that one, because Lando Norris puts Tsunoda into a spin. No investigation necessary for an earlier incident at the start of the race. Now we've got Esteban Ocon and Daniel Ricciardo going side by side uphill from Tosa, and Ricciardo keeps his position ahead of Ocon. And Yuki Tsunoda having all his hard work done by Lando Norris, pretty much doing a dive bomb and passing both of them. It's a great move to a degree, but he did spin Tsunoda. So I wonder if we're going to have a the FIA going to have a discussion about that, the race stewards. Meanwhile, here we go again with between the Red Bulls, and Max Verstappen once again holds his position.
No power. Stop the car, please, on track, Max. Stop the car, please. Can I not just go and kick care of this engine blows up? Okay. Good.
Oh no, Max Verstappen, engine failure, no power. Max Verstappen is out of the San Marino Grand Prix of 2021 after lap battle with his teammate, and maybe that is why Perez was quicker. Max was probably losing power.
Guys, I am so slow right now. I've just been lapped by the leaders. It's okay, Aiden, we're gonna have races like this during the season, buddy. Just keep it on the track and keep going. Max Verstappen has retired from the race, and many drivers have been losing their front wings around you with wheel-to-wheel battles. As long as you keep it out of trouble and on the track, you should be able to make up a couple more positions before the race is over. Just keep going. Getting to the end of the race is what's most important for us right now. Copy that. I'll try my best here.
So Aiden Jackson struggles this weekend, of being compounded by the fact he's been lapped by Bottas and Hamilton. But HAAS reminding him that really they're going to have races like that, and getting to the end is what is important for HAAS this season. And poor Aiden Jackson, who had such a high after Bahrain, is back down at the bottom sadly, and he's past Max Verstappen, who has retired from this race. No power, a loss of engine failure, very much deja vu back to 2018. With Verstappen always having the engine failures, and he had another one there, no power. So that really does explain why Perez was faster. In comes Sebastian Vettel for, surprise, surprise, a front wing change. And this is getting a bit ridiculous now. Everyone is losing their front wings at the moment. I think that's why HAAS tried to give Jackson encouragement, as George Russell is down the outside of Yuki Tsunoda of P11. And George will be on the verge of points here. There's contact there, and let's hope George didn't lose his front wing. George Russell amongst it today, in 12th place, chasing Tsunoda. He's not going to get a point. He's a long way behind Giovinazzi by about, I think it's 10 seconds if we add all the times up on the interval side of the board. But yeah, now Sebastian Vettel is the latest casualty for losing his front wing. Well, Aiden Jackson's really getting a little frustrated. The car is very slow this weekend. For the first time in his Formula 1 career, Aiden Jackson has been lapped. He didn't really have that experience in Formula 2, so it's the first time in his entire racing career that Aiden Jackson has been lapped. Because this kid, that kid is fast, let's say. I mean, Bahrain proved it. But today, the car just isn't there for him, as in comes Lando Norris, and surely this isn't for a front wing change, is it again? Surely. And it is! Oh my word, what is going on? Lando Norris has lost his front wing again, and that's a second front wing loss for Norris, and he's having a mare, isn't he? Well, Lando Norris, he was doing so well up to a point, but damage to his front wing end plate. I think the drivers are getting rather spooked by this front wing damage, because it doesn't know there's a lot of damage, but I guess, you know, front downforce is so important in these vehicles. They turn so well at full downforce. And if you lose even the smallest bit of your front wing, you're going to struggle, and I think that's why we've had so many pit stops. Here's Aiden Jackson. He's not going to catch Norris going out of the pits, sadly. He's still got a lead over Raikkonen by about 17 seconds, and he's 15 behind Norris. Mick Schumacher is up into P14 once again, and holding his own against Nicholas Latifi, to be fair. So keep an eye on him, as Valtteri Bottas has lapped Lando Norris, who doesn't really take too kindly to that at the moment. Norris is now back on the soft tyres. I'm surprised McLaren have any soft sets left after Q2 and Q3, of course. But Norris is Bottas got a problem, or is Norris just quicker? Probably just quicker, and he's going to try and unlap himself down the outside, and very reminiscent of Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. Or no, Esteban Ocon, my apologies, back a couple of years ago at the Brazilian Grand Prix. We've got a car on faster tyres attempting to outlap themselves. Lando Norris is attempting to try and get his lap back. We've got 2 laps left of this Grand Prix. It's been absolutely crazy, and we've had probably half the field losing their front wing, with Norris coming in upmost to about 3 times, I think. And well, Yuki Tsunoda was spun by Lando Norris earlier, and that threw away his chance of points. And George Russell, credit to him, he's keeping ahead of him at the moment. In fact, I think he might have passed him somewhere. So George Russell now is in 11th place. All he needs is one more retirement and he'll be in the points. Still looking for his first points at Williams, George Russell. It's been long overdue. Fernando Alonso, this man, absolutely stellar performance today. It's gone rather unnoticed. But Fernando Alonso is sitting in P6 and has gone rather unnoticed by us today, but he's having a great race, and another good one. After the lows of Bahrain over not being able to pass the 2 Haas drivers, but of course he spun on his own accord in a battle against Norris in Bahrain, and that was why he was so far down at the end. And Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, another good honourable mention for them today as well. Ferrari seemed back in the groove today at their home race. Sebastian Vettel being probably let through by Mick Schumacher. We know how good friends these two are. Mostly carry over from the friendship that Sebastian and Michael Schumacher shared. It's pretty much the roles reversed now. It's Seb who's the mentor to Mick Schumacher, and Mick giving his friend plenty of space there. No surprises to be had there. Lando Norris has passed Latifi, unbeknownst to us. And this battle for 11th rages on. George is P11 ahead of Gaz. So I think Gaz has passed Tsunoda somewhere, and everything is happening unbeknownst to us today. The director seems focused on things that aren't happening. Here's P9 Lance Stroll, and I think Ocon is coming up behind him. And what are we seeing here? Gasly is closing up on Russell. I think that might be an easy pass. Tsunoda's dropping back from that. So has Tsunoda got more damage? Maybe? Well, it's going to be around the outside of Pierre Gasly. He doesn't even need to move on to chicane. I mean, to be fair. And Tsunoda is coming in. Please don't tell me it's for a front wing change. It probably is, isn't it? This has been absolutely crazy stuff. Soft tyres. Probably you might as well go for the fastest lap. But, yep, front wing change for Yuki Tsunoda. Oh, my word. And Latifi's coming in. What is going on? What is going on? There's a game of like damaged front wings out there. No one knows where their front wing is. It's a bit ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. Here comes Aiden Jackson, a man who's kept out of trouble, to be fair. I think he'll be glad to be at the back for most of his race when he watches the replay back. Here's Tsunoda coming out of the pits. On the hard tyres, Jackson down the inside. They're going to be side by side going into this chicane, and Jackson has his first real-to-real battle since the start of the race. Was that an Alfa Romeo coming out of the pits as well? Oh my goodness, I'm confused. But anyway, what's not confusing is that Valtteri Bottas has had a thoroughly dominant victory today. Mick Schumacher P15, Aiden Jackson P16, and that's after them being nowhere. But we've had 2 or 3 wing changes in the last lap. And, well, It's been a crazy race, but not for Mercedes. Valtteri Bottas wins the San Marino Grand Prix. Has been absolutely thoroughly dominant, takes the fastest lap at the end with a 118.5. Vintage Mercedes again. Max Verstappen no points, and Hamilton will be happy with that. Max obviously being his main challenger this season. A podium for Sergio Perez on his second outing for Red Bull. And Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, Daniel Ricciardo, Lance Stroll, Esteban Ocon, Antonio Giovinazzi in all the madness gets the final point. Alonso gets driver of the day. What a race. Oh my word. Just so many front wing changes. There's going to be a lot of bills to be paid for the damage, I'm sure. Valtteri Bottas dominant at the front. Led from lights to flag. Pretty much vintage Mercedes. And Sergio Perez gets his first podium for Red Bull in race 2. So he's already bettered the kind of result of Albon and Gasly at this stage of the season. Albon getting a podium for Red Bull late on. Daniel Ricciardo, despite the front wing change, finishes 7th. And Lando Norris dropping to P14 behind Vettel in the end, who also changed his front wing. And George Russell, unfortunately, only finishing P12, no points. And HAAS, despite being nowhere, do get P15 and P16 out of AlphaTauri or Yuki Tsunoda with Kimi Raikkonen and Nicholas Latifi. And everyone up to Lando Norris was lapped. So Valtteri Bottas does get the 1 point lead, the extra point proving crucial to take the lead in the championship for the first time ever, I think. It could be. I think he led a couple of years ago, didn't he, when he won the opening race? Yes. And the last of the point scorers being Yuki Tsunoda. He scored that in Bahrain, of course. And HAAS are not rock bottom in the driver's standings with Schumacher and Jackson 17th and 18th. But sadly, they're last in the constructors, with Williams just ahead of them on virtue of better results, of course, and almost getting a point in the end. Well, it's been a crazy Emilia Romagna or San Marino Grand Prix. Everyone lost their front wings, but at the front, it is vintage Mercedes once again. And we continue with the reintroduction tracks with Portimao coming up next from Imola today. Goodbye.